Welcome to Metabolic Mondays. I'm with Michela Margiotta, naturopathic student.
Yes, correct.
For a few more weeks, and then she'll be, I don't know, what do you call yourself, but you'll be on your way. She'll be graduating and then doing her boards, and she'll be here at TriHealth. She was an intern. She did an externship here, and she's very impressive. I taught her a lot. We're going to talk about metabolism, things you can do to boost metabolism. Okay. It wasn't her idea. She's like, I guess I'm doing a podcast with you. A lot of people, not a lot of people ask to be on. I ask people to be on.
That's very true.
I force people to be on sometimes. Mm-hmm. It's not an obligation, but it feels like it. But we have fun. Everyone who's done it has said, like, I actually really enjoyed it.
Okay.
It was, and they would want to do it again.
Okay.
They're not obligated to do it again.
Okay. Let's do it.
All right. Do you want me to start?
Sure. Go
ahead. Well, last week we spoke with Amanda, our kinesiologist, about physical ways to boost our metabolism. Mm-hmm. And as naturopaths, we use supplements, to be honest. That's the truth. That's what we do. We do other things too, but I mean, supplements have a big role. And there's so much info about certain supplements and how they can boost your metabolism. Some of it's true, some of it's garbage, some of it's still like in testing or doesn't have like tons of research. But we kind of wanted to highlight some things that we use and we see like that have good success and can actually help people, hit some of their goals in terms of weight loss, reducing body fat, and ultimately just feeling healthier. Mm-hmm. Does anything come to mind?
To start off, supplementation-wise or dietary-wise?
Well, that whole thing was about supplements.
Well, I think you can also use dietary supplements as well.
Didn't I say that? Diet? You mean diet? You mean like food?
No, I mean like if, for example, if someone's not reaching their protein goal dietary-wise, you can always supplement a protein powder.
That's
okay. What I'm asking.
Okay. Well, no, I mean then run with it. So protein powder. She likes protein powder, guys.
Depends on the person, depends on the case as well. But I think protein powder is a great addition, especially for those who are targeting weight loss and metabolism boosting.
Yeah.
It's a really good substitute if somebody can't get enough dietary protein through certain foods, for example, like eggs, meats, and fish. It's something very quick, and I think it's very satiating as well at the same time.
Why is that important?
Which part?
Satiation.
I think it's important because you need to provide your body with optimal nutrients, and you need to also re-regulate hunger cues within the body too. And that's an important part in metabolic function, is that you need to ensure that you're feeding your body what it actually needs rather than you overeating.
So the idea of satiation means like your body naturally feels satisfied
and full.
And then you don't start snacking an hour after a meal. Because a lot of people do that. They'll be like, listen, I have breakfast, lunch, dinner, but then shortly after dinner, I'm sitting down in front of the television and I'm like, I need something. And it's like insatiable hunger and people don't feel satisfied. Like, I had a big dinner. Maybe they had a big plate of pasta or something.
I think that's definitely a blood glucose concern. When people don't choose the correct foods for their body / blood glucose, it leads to certain spikes and then hunger cues later on. And then that's when the insatiable hunger kicks in, especially those eating in front of the TV. You actually blunt your full / hunger cues. So I think it makes the situation a little worse.
One of my little cheat notes here, which is very timely, is pointing to berberine.
Yes.
How does berberine play into what you're talking about with blood sugar?
So berberine is a great blood glucose regulator. In terms of mechanism-wise, I'm not too familiar with it. It
activates AMPK, activated protein kinase for regulating metabolism and energy levels. It also can improve insulin sensitivity.
Yes.
Study suggests that it can increase GLP-1 and 2 and peptide double Y. Mm-hmm. So I was prepared.
Okay, I was also prepared,
but just not with
on
the
berberine.
mechanism. Berberine is a magic pill. It's just, I don't know how it works. It just does it. I knew. I was ready.
Okay.
You're so
I
red.
think it also depends.
We'll fix that in post. We'll just blotch you.
Why are you doing that? I just said don't do that.
I'm sorry.
No, I'm actually getting hot now. Is my face still red?
No!
No, you're the worst.
You're the worst. I'm the
Why would
worst.
you do that?
I don't know. You look like you just took some L-carnitine because that increases your lipid metabolism, VO2
Yes,
max, and oxygen consumption.
Okay, if you wanted to get down to technicalities like that, you should have told me.
Okay.
Okay.
Is it too late?
I'm sweating now.
I'm keeping all of this.
No, you're not.
Anyways, back to supplements, and this girl's having a hot flash. B6. How do you like B6 for metabolism?
I don't specifically give B6 to my patients, but I do like to incorporate a full B complex. I think the B vitamins are very important for certain protein and carbohydrate metabolism and or digestion. Some of the B vitamins also stimulate adrenal function as well, which is responsible in metabolism because it regulates our stress response and our resilience to our stress. So I think it also helps with cognition too. So it's an overall good supplement, but yes, it does help metabolism.
Well, when it comes to metabolism and adrenal function, I feel like our adrenal gland is not well understood. No. And the way I'll summarize it in like a conceptual sense is, you know, some people will have like a lifestyle that they're used to. They kind of eat a certain way and they go to bed at a certain time and it just works for them, especially when they're younger. But then what happens is eventually, you know, life happens, stress happens, you know, work, family, life, kids, house, bills, all that. And then eventually you just start noticing that you're getting a little bit bigger and bigger and bigger. You haven't gotten there yet. I have.
Thankfully not yet.
But what happens is your adrenal gland is just under high duress. It doesn't compensate for the lifestyle choices. Like you can pull an all-nighter, you can, you know, just eat pizza and just not gain a pound. But eventually you do start gaining a pound, many pounds, and everything just feels like it doesn't recover as quickly. So then the adrenal gland is, you know, one of the reasons why people start to lose the ability to compensate and they start gaining weight. It's not well understood on like a basic like social level or social construct of health. But that's why, like us naturopaths, we really try to, you know, educate people about like why the adrenal gland is so important for metabolism. Because a lot of people say like, you know, I get this cortisol weight, and like people kind of get the idea of cortisol and how it distributes fat. And I mean, what we try to do is any weight loss program or metabolic support, we always incorporate support for the adrenal gland. So B vitamins are definitely going to do that. More specifically, if someone really wanted to like slim down, if there was a supplement, you'd be like, hey, you know what? If you just, you know, you want to get a 6-pack for the summer, what would you recommend?
Are you talking still about adrenal function or just
anything? Throw it against the wall, see what sticks.
In general, the most metabolic, maybe one of the two, I would suggest creatine or inositol.
I didn't have those on my list, but tell me.
Well, creatine is very good for muscular energy. Obviously, we know that it produces ATP, which is the main source of energy. It can also stimulate mitochondrial function as well, which is a further ATP producer within the body.
Sure.
It can also upregulate the basilar metabolism too, so that's going to be important for energy expenditure. And then it also helps with muscle mass as well and performance. So all of that put together would be a good metabolic supplement.
Right.
I do use it a lot in my perimenopausal and menopausal patients as well for the muscle mass and the bone component, but it can also help with things like cognition and anxiety. So it's kind of an all-around supplement.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, you're definitely going the route of like muscle stimulating metabolic burn, which is, I think, is really critical. I was thinking along the lines of like things that will mobilize fat. So like green tea extract or L-carnitine, those sort of formulas, they tend to target body fat burn more specifically. But I mean, that doesn't like minimize at all what you're like. You actually are coming up with more of like a long-term sustainable, like we're going to build up your muscle so that, you know, your metabolism is always at a higher level. And a lot of people don't realize that your muscle mass is directly related to how much calories your body is trying to burn on a daily basis. So you can have a good muscle mass, but if you're not exercising, if you're not moving, you're not stimulating that basal metabolic rate. So you're actually losing out on like 15 to 1800 calories that your body's trying to burn because you're lazy.
Yeah, that's true.
Gee, this girl works all the time. I don't know why.
I do like the idea of L-carnitine, though.
Glad you approve.
For the lipolysis portion.
Yeah. Good. How about capsaicin?
So capsaicin is more of a heat herb, we would say, in terms of the energetics. So it does stimulate the basal metabolic rate of the body, and then that helps with things like sweating, and then the lipolysis, which is the further fat burning. So that's also a good supplement.
Yeah.
Other supplements along those lines as well could be ginger and turmeric too.
Yes. Yeah. Turmeric came up in my little bit of research and study. It's one of those, like, some people like swear by it and other people are like, I don't know about that.
I think a really cool portion of our medicine is that it is individualized. So what may work wonders for one person may not do for the other. So a part of our job is to do further investigation in terms of what is the most optimal treatment for the patient in front of me right now.
Sure. Yeah. I think we got to also discuss like thyroid function.
I think that's a very big part as well.
So a lot of people, they'll say like, I'm gaining weight. Maybe it's my thyroid. How often do you think that's the case? Give a percentage.
Percentage I cannot give. I'm not a whiz like that. But in terms of
64. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay. In terms of thyroid function, it is actually impacted by stress levels and adrenal function. So the axis between the two have to be optimized and regulated. But it's actually interesting too, because the thyroid is very correlated to the liver health at the same time. And we know that the liver is the biggest detoxifier in the body, which is also important for metabolic function as well. So I think all three of those systems together have to be looked at as one.
Okay. Let's say someone came in and they're like 30 years old, a female, and noticing that they've gained about 15 pounds in the last year, and they hadn't really changed much in terms of their lifestyle. They work out, let's say, twice a week. They have a pretty average diet, moderate stress. What would you do? What are some of the things that you would want to investigate to help you kind of identify, like, oh, this is what would probably work best for this person?
Thyroid function is top of the list. I think I would also look at their hormones too, because as early as it is, sometimes perimenopause can start in the 30s.
Holy cow, you went to perimenopause? I would not have done that. That's wrong.
It's not wrong. It's definitely something to rule in or out in terms of weight gain.
Let's say she's got a perfect period, 28 days, 6 days of flow.
Okay.
No PMS.
Okay, I would also measure cortisol levels as well to check the adrenal
adrenal let's say
glands.
She's slightly exhausted.
Slightly exhausted. Okay, well, I think then in that case, adrenal function and thyroid function would be top two.
How about her diet?
Well, diet
I said she has an average diet, and she's 30. 30 is kind of like the benchmark where like things start going downhill.
Average.
How old are you?
26.
A couple of years.
Yeah, I'm getting there. I know. Well, you have to define average, I think.
Not great.
Okay, well, I think a patient's definition of average is definitely different than what we would describe it.
Well, that's where you're wrong, because I have an average diet. Okay. I eat like my patients.
Okay, well.
I'm not a snob.
Yeah, okay.
I'm the worst.
You're the worst. Oh my God, I'm getting red again.
It's another hot flash. Someone should get their hormones checked. Maybe that's why she's speaking about herself. Should do the Dutch test. I highly recommend it. Normally, my guests don't laugh this much.
Yeah.
All of this is
They also don't get bullied as much either.
Bullying. These words get thrown down so easily. Okay. All right, so we ruled out menopause for this 30-year-old lady.
I never said menopause.
Perimenopause.
Perimenopausal symptoms can even happen like 10 to 15 years prior to menopause.
No, that's true. I have to give you credit for that.
Yes.
Okay, but that's not why she's gaining weight.
Okay, well, it's something to rule out. That's our job, to rule things in and out.
That's true.
It is. So it
feels
can't
like
be
court.
discredited.
Okay.
Okay.
So what do you think? What would, like, some supplements? Let's just say she's just gaining a little bit of tummy fat. Maybe she's got a little bit of estrogen dominance. Okay, maybe.
Okay.
Maybe we'll just say that. Carb heavy diet.
Okay.
What would you say? What are some things you would introduce?
Okay. Well, first of all, I think if going back to my very, very first point is if she can't incorporate dietary protein sources, I think a high quality protein powder would be indicated in this case.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Yeah, it would help with the cellular
I'm on your
repair.
team. I'm working with you. I'm trying to save this lady.
Sure. Okay. And then I also think creatine could be helpful as well because of the hormonal aspect, the muscular
What if she's worried about getting too like muscular? Because a lot of women will say that. They're like, I don't want to bulk up.
Well, it's not essentially for bulking. That also depends on the type of your training. It depends on your caloric intake. It also depends on genetic factors as well.
Sure.
If a patient would be worried about that in the case, you could always do half of the dose and start from there.
Sure.
But especially with creatine, you just want to make sure that they don't have any gastrointestinal side effects because that is one of the most common. So you'd have to then ensure proper hydration. And adequate hydration can also contribute to increased metabolic function as well because it's for cellular repair, cellular function, you're hydrating the tissues properly. So I think all in all, those three would definitely be beneficial.
Someone like this, if they want to lose weight, how many calories should they consume?
Caloric intake, I think that also depends on the person's height, weight, and goals.
Well, okay, so I'm not looking for a specific number, but let's just say, are we looking at a calorie deficit?
For sure.
Really?
I think so. In the beginning, I think a caloric deficit would be important. I think in a patient like this, the reverse dieting would actually be pretty effective because from the sounds of it...
What do you mean by reverse dieting? What's that mean?
You would start with a caloric deficit first and you'd have their body get used to being without those extra calories that they were consuming on a daily basis. And then over time, you start to increase their caloric intake, but you're increasing it from the protein, the fat, and the vegetable sources rather than carbohydrate sources.
Okay.
So their body is now utilizing those as energy substrates / storing them / using them for cellular repair. And then I also think stomach acid is a very big portion of metabolic function as well.
You just saying that because you think I'm going to say that?
No, I actually think that.
Oh, that's good. Smart.
It is smart, thank you. But I do think that that is a main concern considering stress also dampens / lessens stomach acid. And we know stomach acid is very important for breaking down all of our nutrients for then digestion in the intestines.
What would you give for stress?
For stress, I would give an adaptogen. There are different varieties in terms of the spectrum of adaptogens. Like some are quite stimulating, some are more neutral, some are not sedating, but they're more nourishing in a sense. So if I think a patient is on overdrive, I would give more of a nourishing adaptogen to then help the adrenal glands with their function and improve their stress resilience. And I think that would be really helpful for a person like this.
Does sleep have much role?
Yes, it does. I think optimal sleep is very good for cellular repair. It's good for metabolic function. It's good for digestion. It's even good for cognition.
Do they need 10 hours?
Personally, I think women need more sleep than men do.
Sexist.
Definitely not. But 7 to 9 hours would be optimal. But then you also have to play around with your sleep and find what hour range of sleep is actually the best for your body.
What time should someone go to bed?
I like to go to bed at around 11 because
You go to bed at 11 and you need 11 hours of sleep.
I do not
You
need
wake
11
up at,
hours of sleep.
what's that, noon the next day?
I do not need 11 hours of sleep. But I think that if now you're looking at this from a Chinese medicine perspective, the liver and the gallbladder are actually active throughout the night. So you want to go to bed prior to those active
like 2,
times.
3 a.m.?
No, not 2, 3 a.m.
When is the liver active?
I believe it's 11 to 1 and the gallbladder is 1 to 3, if I'm not mistaken. So I think that's really important because then those two organ functions are most optimal during that time frame, and we know they're really important for digestion and even emotional regulation.
Okay. So what if someone's waking up around 2 a.m., what might that be a sign of?
I think that's a cortisol picture, 100%. Well, not 100%. You can never be too certain, but I think that
Isn't there a role for like blood sugar or metabolic dietary?
Yes, I think blood sugar dysregulation is a common cause of awakenings throughout the night. I also think that if you were to look at the cortisol versus the melatonin and growth hormone curves, if somebody's cortisol is peaking and rising in the middle of the night, that means they don't have enough growth hormone and melatonin. So they're not actually stimulating the cellular repair and all the antioxidant function, so that just disrupts metabolism either way.
Should someone use Ozempic?
That I cannot answer because I'm not well versed in Ozempic.
Okay. Well, I mean, we have a lot of people that come in and they've used the product, the medication. Most of the time, people come in after stopping it because just with our experience here at the clinic, the side effects are not worth the benefit. So, and there's a lot of things naturally that we would just discuss this whole podcast, and these are the best mechanisms, I think, to help with blood sugar regulation and even preventing prediabetes. Anything else? Anything else you want to kind of add at the end here in terms of ways that people can boost their metabolism?
If you're going to focus on the blood sugar aspect of it, I think herbs like berberine, which we were talking about before, cinnamon, even gymnema as well, they're very good because they do have a role with the GLP-1 pathway, just like Ozempic does. It does encourage satiation as well as the reduction of the blood glucose absorption throughout the intestines. So I think that's all important in terms of metabolism because you want a steady blood sugar throughout the day for your body to then optimally function and not have these fluctuations.
Amazing. A lot of people talk about like, I have like lemon water first thing in the morning or like apple cider vinegar. Do you have anything like that?
I have a glass of warm lemon water with a teaspoon of apple cider vinegar. I think it's just a good way to start the day in terms of alkalizing the body because the lemon is known as a bitter, which does stimulate bile production from the liver. The warm water in the morning is going to be very hydrating along with the lemon. It's a source of electrolytes. And then the apple cider vinegar is very good for stomach acid, so it can stimulate appetite and digestion from the start.
Apple cider, I think, also helps with fat accumulation around the liver.
I believe so, and I think it also helps with blood glucose dysregulation too.
Okay. So we came up with a lot of tips and insights into ways, like both dietarily and supplementally, that we can improve metabolism. Any parting thoughts or shots?
I'm out of ideas.
Yeah. Well, I think this is good. I don't think there's anything else that I think we talked about everything. Sometimes there's these like herbs like Garcinia, or there used to be like raspberry ketones that people used to swear by that, help with like fat loss. Yeah. Do you find that, do you have any insight into those? Are they more like gimmicks or fads that kind of come by the wayside or go by the wayside?
Yeah, those I'm not too sure. I personally haven't used them with any of my patients, but I do like the adaptogen route because some adaptogens, for example, like rhodiola, it doesn't just increase energy and stress resilience, but it can also help with metabolic function as well, since it's more on the stimulating side. I think another adaptogen is eleutherococcus as well. It can help with metabolic function, and then some of the other adaptogens can also help with the cholesterol pathway as well. And I think that is very important too for metabolism.
Terrific. Thank you, Michela.
No problem.
Would you like to do this again in the future?
I am not sure. I'm kidding. I'll do it again.
All right.
Okay.
That's what I want to hear. Thank you, guys. And until next time.